Good afternoon, dear learners. I welcome you all. Today we are going to study about basics of computer. So I'll firstly give a brief introduction about what all we are going to study in today's class. So firstly, I'm going to discuss about the working of a computer, different components of a computer, then we'll talk about some of the input devices, then I'll explain about the central processing unit, CPU, then we'll talk about some output devices, then we'll talk about software, computer languages, compiler and assembler. So let's firstly look into the working of a computer. So a computer basically can be divided into three major parts. First is the input, second is the CPU, and the third is the output. The CPU itself is a combination of control unit, arithmetic and logical unit, and the memory unit. And then firstly the input is given to the computer through input devices, the information is processed within the CPU, and the output is given through the output devices. So this is the basic working of a computer. So if I talk about the complete steps, the working of a computer can be broadly categorized into the following four functions, or you can say steps. First is to receive the input, second to process the information, third step is to store the information, and the fourth step is to produce the output. Okay, now components of a computer. Computer has four main components: input devices, central processing unit, which is also abbreviated as CPU, memory, and output devices. We are going to talk about all of these in detail. So let us talk about input devices first. An input device is used to get data or instructions from the user. This data is then passed on to the CPU for processing so as to produce the desired result. So firstly, let's talk about one of the majorly used input device, which is a keyboard. So this is what a keyboard looks like. All of you must have seen this. So a keyboard is the most common and very popular input device which helps to input data to the computer. The layout of the keyboard is like that of a traditional typewriter. So there are some additional keys provided for performing additional functions. Now the next input device which we are going to talk about is a mouse. So this is what a traditional mouse looks like. A mouse is basically a pointing device that controls the movement of the cursor or the pointer on a display screen. As you move the mouse, the pointer on the display screen moves in the same direction as you move the pointer. A mouse may contain 1, 2 or 3 buttons which have different functions depending on what program is running. The next input device which we are going to talk about is a scanner. A scanner is an input device that can read text or an illustration printed on paper and translates the information into a form that the computer can use. Then the next input device is optical character recognition, which is also abbreviated as OCR. And OCR is a device that is used for reading text from paper and translating the images into a form that the computer can understand. An OCR is used to convert books, magazines and other such printed information into digital form. Next is OMR. So the OMR you must have used somehow till now, but maybe you're not aware of it. So whenever you give any exam, any MCQ exam, and in the end when you fill up the bubbles to mark your responses, that is you're using the OMR technology. So it is also called as Mark Sense Reader. It is a technology where an OMR device senses the presence or absence of a mark, such as a pencil mark. OMR is widely used for assessing the objective examinations involving multiple choice questions. So whenever you have your multiple choice question paper with you, you are given with a question and then you're given with 4 responses and you have to select one of the correct response. So out of the 4 bubbles, you will fill the one which is correct. So the OMR technology recognizes that which particular response you have filled with pencil or pen, and then it marks it. Then it considers the one which you have filled with your pen or pencil and ignores the one which you have not filled. So that is how the response sheets are checked through OMR technology. Next is a barcode reader. A barcode reader is a photoelectric scanner that reads the barcodes. What are the barcodes? They are the vertical stripped black and white marks. You must have seen these barcodes on any product you buy from any supermarket, or everything today have barcodes on them. So a barcode reader, it's a photoelectric scanner that reads those barcodes. And these barcodes are printed on the product containers or the products, like books, packets, etc. The barcode reader scans the barcode of the product and checks the description and the latest price and various other details of the product as well. It is an input device that is generally seen in supermarkets, bookshops, libraries, etc. Light pen. A light pen is an input device that utilizes a light sensitive detector to select objects on a display screen. You all must be using a light pen with your smartphones or your tablets nowadays. It is, input device which is oftenly used. So next we are going to talk about Central Processing Unit, CPU. The CPU is also known as the brain of the computer. Any type of instruction given to the computer using any of the input devices has to be sent to the CPU for execution. The computer is of no use if we do not have CPU, because it is the brain of the computer, and any information which you give to the computer has to be processed by the CPU, then only it can be carried forward to the output device for giving us the output. A central processing unit, the CPU, typically has the three following components: control unit, arithmetic logical unit, and the memory register. So these three are the major components of a CPU. So let us talk about all of these three units in detail. Firstly, we will talk about control unit. The control unit manages the instructions given to the computer. It coordinates the activities of all the other units in the system by instructing the rest of the components of the computer about how to carry out a program's instructions. So basically, a control unit can also be known as the nervous system of the computer system. As the nervous system of our body controls and coordinates our balance and the rest of the body parts, similarly, a control unit coordinates all the activities of the system by giving instructions to the rest of the components of the computer it tells the computer about how to carry out a program's instruction. Conceptually, the control unit fetches instructions from the memory, decodes them, and directs the various units to perform the specified functions. So that was all about the control unit. I hope you have understood what the control unit is and why do we call the control unit as the nervous system of the computer system. Next, we are going to talk about arithmetic logic unit, ALU. The ALU performs two types of operations, arithmetic and logical. As the name itself says, arithmetic and logic unit, so it is basically used for these two basic operations. First is the arithmetic and the second is the logical function. Arithmetic operations are the fundamental mathematical operations consisting of addition, subtraction, multiplication and shifting operations. So these four are the basic arithmetic operations which are responsibility of the arithmetic unit. The logical operations consist of Boolean comparisons such as AND, OR and NOT. So these are the function of the arithmetic logic unit. Let us now talk about the memory registers. So a computer basically uses a number of special memory units called registers. A memory register is a special storage area that holds the data and instructions temporarily during processing. Since this is internally located in the CPU, the processing time is very less. So the fastest unit of memory is the memory register, because they are internally located in the CPU and they are used for temporarily holding the instructions and the data, and then the processing which is done is also performed within the registers. And then whatever the output or result we have got, it is stored in the output register, and then from output register it goes to the output devices. So the registers temporarily hold the storage, the data and the instructions for processing. Now we are done with the input devices. We have discussed so many input devices. Then we have discussed about the CPU and the basic parts of the CPU, which is the control unit, the arithmetic and logical unit, and the control unit. So now, and the memory unit, sorry. So now we are going to talk about the output devices. So similarly, as the input devices are responsible for taking the input from the user and giving it to the computer for processing, the output devices are responsible for taking the output, the information processed by the CPU from the computer, and representing it to the users. So this is the major function of the output devices. Output devices receive information from the CPU and present it to the user in the desired form. So some of the output devices are monitor, printers, plotters, etc. Now let us discuss about the major output devices in detail. So what is the most common output device you all must have seen? Just give it a thought. So whenever you use a computer is basically incomplete without a monitor, right? So if you're not able to see anything, if you're not able to see that what kind of information is getting processed, what is the input you are giving, what is the output will get, how will you look at the output unless you have an output device? So the monitor is the most common output device. The monitor is just like a television screen, and it is used to display data and information. When some data or instruction is being keyed in, like whenever you're typing, then whatever you're typing is also reflected in the monitor. The monitor displays the characters, the numbers, or whatever information you're typing is displayed on the monitor. So when some data or instruction is being keyed in, the monitor displays the characters being typed. So now let's see about the various kinds of monitors which are available. So first is the Crt Monitor. Crt stands for cathode ray tube monitor. So it is actually a very older version of monitors. It was used a long back. They were very big in size, they were very bulky, and they also took a very large amount of space. So it is relatively older type of monitor, and these were bigger and bulkier monitors and hence took a lot of desk space. Then came the LCD monitors. So LCD stands for liquid crystal display. These monitors are lighter and they occupy very less space as compared to the previous monitors. Next is printers. Now again, printer is a very important output device. Whenever you want to get your output on a paper, you want a printer for that. Suppose you need to carry some information in a hard copy form, and you have a computer but you do not have a printer, then the computer is of no use because you cannot carry the information in the hard copy. So for having the output in your hands in form of a hard copy, you need a printer. So printer is a device that produces the output on paper. Such an output is also known as hard copy. Just now I was talking about the same, and it may be in the form of text or graphics. So there are many different types of printers. They may vary in terms of size, speed, and quality of output. Firstly, I am going to talk to you about dot matrix printer. So it is a type of printer that uses a print head to print the characters on paper. The print head moves in the forward or the backward position or up and down motion to get the characters typed on the paper. It is just very similar to, you must have seen a typewriter. Whenever you type, the print head, the particular cursor keeps on moving. So it's kind of that. The next is a inkjet printer. The inkjet printers work by spraying ionized ink on a sheet of paper. Magnetized plates in the ink's path directs the ink onto the paper in the desired shapes. So this is about a inkjet printer. Next is the laser printer. So the laser printer basically works on the same principle as of a photocopy machine. So it utilizes a laser beam to produce an image on a drum. And the laser printers are the one which are the most commonly used in today's market. So the next output device, speaker, obviously. So the speakers are used to produce audio output. The computers have sound cards that enable the computer to produce audio output through the speakers. If the computer do not have the sound cards, then even if you connect the speakers to the to your machine, you will not be able to get the output. We need to install the sound cards in your computer so that the computer is enabled to produce audio output through those speakers. So this was all about the different output devices. Now let us talk about software. So all of you must have heard of software. What is a software? So whenever you perform any, in order to make your computer perform any particular task, you have to give a set of instructions in a particular sequence to the computer. These set of instructions are called as programs. So software refers to a set of programs that makes the hardware perform a particular set of tasks in particular order. So if you have the hardware in front of you but you do not have the software installed in your computer, your hardware is of no use. In order to guide the computer of what you want the computer to do, you need a software installed in that. So basically you can think of that software bridges the gap between humans and machines. They are a set of programs that makes the hardware perform a particular set of tasks in a particular order. So let us see about the classification of software. A software can be broadly categorized into a system software and an application software. A system software can be further classified into operating system and utilities, and an application software can be further classified into generalized packages and customized packages. So we are going to talk about the different types of software after a short break.
करने राहों को आलोकित करने, जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने राहों को आलोकित करने, हम अपना दीपक स्वयं बने, हम अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने, हम अपना दीपक स्वयं बने, हम अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने, जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने राहों को आलोकित करने। धन साधन समय की सीमा से विद्यालय जो मुक्त हो, धन साधन समय की सीमा से विद्यालय जो मुक्त हो, कभी पढ़े हम कहीं पढ़े वे विषय की लोच से युक्त हो, कभी पढ़े हम कहीं पढ़े वे विषय की लोच से युक्त हो, मित्रों हम उठे और जागे, मंजिल आने की ध्वनि सुने, हम अपना दीपक स्वयं बने, हम अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने, जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने राहों को आलोकित करने। राष्ट्रीय मुक्त विद्यालय का है द्वार खुला सबकी भागे, शिक्षा परीक्षा का अवसर एक बार ही क्यों मिलता फिर, शिक्षा परीक्षा आशा का अवसर एक बार ही क्यों मिलता फिर दुनिया में इसके केंद्र बात कोई मन चाहा चुने हम अपना जीवन स्वयं बने हम अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने कोई मन चाहा चुने
I welcome you back to the data entry operations class. So let's give a, let's have a quick revision of what all we did. So I'll start with the working of computer. We did about that the working of computer can be categorized into 4 steps. First step was receiving the input, second was processing the information, third was storing the information, and then to produce the output. So then we did about the components of a computer. So I told you that the computer has 4 major components: the input device, central processing unit, CPU, memory, and the output devices. So we did all of the devices, we did all of the components in detail. We talked that an input device is used to get data or instruction from the user. Then the data is passed on to the CPU for processing so as to produce the desired result. Then we talked about some of the major input devices in detail. We talked about keyboard, mouse, then we talked about scanner, OCR, which was optical character recognition, and then optical mark recognition, OMR. A barcode reader is a major commonly used input device. So we talked about all of these input devices in details. We also talked about light pin as an input device. Then we had a discussion on the central processing unit, which is the brain of the computer. So I told you that any type of instruction which we give to the computer using any of the input devices has to be sent to the CPU for execution. Then we did about the following the components of a CPU, which were control unit, arithmetic logic unit, and memory registers. So I told you that you can consider the CU, the control unit, as the nervous system of the computer system, as it manages the instructions. It coordinates the activities of all the other units in the system by instructing the rest of the components of the computer about how to carry out a program's instruction. Then we talked about arithmetic logical unit, which is responsible for performing the basic arithmetic operations such as addition, subtraction, multiplication, and shift operation. Also about the logical operations, which were and, or, and not. Then we talked about the memory registers, that these are the special memory locations which are used to hold temporarily the data and instructions for processing, and they are internally located in the CPU, so they are the fastest. Then we had a discussion on the various output devices. So the output devices receives information from the CPU presented to the user in the desired form. And then some of the common output devices are monitor, printers, plotters, etc., speakers, etc. We discussed all of them in detail. We discussed the various type of monitors, the cathode ray tube monitors, the LCD liquid crystal display monitors, then the printers, dot matrix printer, inkjet printer, laser printer. Then I told you about speakers, that the speakers were used to produce audio output from the computer. Then we were talking about software. So in order to perform any task, you have to give a set of instructions in a particular sequence to the computer. These set of instructions are known as programs. Software refers to a set of programs that make the hardware perform a particular set of tasks in a particular order. Then we were talking about the classification of software. A software can be broadly categorized into system software and application software. The system software can be an operating system, utilities, and application softwares can be generalized packages and customized packages. Now we are going to talk about all these classifications in details. Firstly, I am going to talk about system software. So a system software are a set of programs responsible for running the computer, controlling various operations of computer systems, and management of computer resources. The operating system falls under this category. An operating system is a system software that provides an interface for a user to communicate with the computer, manages the hardware devices such as disk drives, keyboard, etc., manages and maintains the disk file systems, and supports application programs. Some popular operating systems are Unix, Windows, and Linux. Although the operating system provides all the features users need to use and maintain their systems, inevitably they still do not meet everyone's expectations. This has led to another type of system software called utilities. These are the programs that bridge the gap between the functionality of an operating system and the needs of the users. Utility programs are a broad category of software such as compress, like zip or uncompress, unzip file software, antivirus software, split and join files software, etc. So these are the different utility programs. I'll once again tell about the utilities and the operating system. So an operating system is a generic software. So it is general, it is not meant to meet any specific requirement. So the operating system provides all the features users need to use and maintain their systems, but it is not designed to meet any specific expectations of anyone. So this particular problem led to the development of another kind of system software which is called as utilities. So what these utilities are, they basically bridge the gap between the functionality of an OS and the needs of the users. A particular utility is being developed to diminish the gap, which is that the general behavior of the operating system and the need of the user. So if we talk about compressing files, uncompressing files, the antivirus softwares, the different softwares which are used for merging files, which are used for conversion of files from one particular format to different format, these cannot be known as operating system, but these are the utility programs which are designed for meeting that particular specific requirement. So this was about the system software. Now we'll talk about application software in detail. So the application software is a set of programs which are written to perform specific tasks. For example, an application package for managing the library known as Library Information System is used to manage information of library, such as keeping the details of the books, for managing information of library, and then there can be another software for managing the bank accounts. So these are the different softwares which are developed keeping in mind the requirement of a particular we can say a group of users. Suppose if we talk about library information system in detail, so it is used to cater the needs of the library staff as well as the students. Now this particular library information system software can be used to manage information of keeping the details of the books, for having the details of the account holder. It can have the details of when was a particular book issued and when was it returned. So it makes it very convenient for the librarian to have all these details handy. Suppose you want to look for a book and you want to see that how many times was it issued, when was it issued. So suppose if I ask you that, if I simple, I have a query that what are the books which are the most in demand. So these kind of softwares can help you with the response in this fraction of seconds. I want to know that which kind of books are not at all issued even once till now. So these kind of queries can also be answered very shortly. So this is what a library information system can help us. So this is a kind of a application software. Now, application software can also be broadly classified into two types: generalized package and customized package. So, the generalized packages, these are the user-friendly software written to cater to users' very general needs, such as preparing documents, drawing pictures, play games, etc. If we talk about generalized packages, so if you talk about preparing documents, so if you talk about MS Word maybe, so it is a general kind of software, it is a very general to write letters, to write documents. For drawing pictures you can use Paint, playing games you can play any game. So they are the general package, they are not designed keeping in mind any one particular group or any one particular audience target. So it is a generalized package. Some of the generalized packages I can list, I can tell about is first the word processing software for preparing documents. It is WordPerfect, MS Word, OpenOffice.org. Then for spreadsheets or for data analysis, we have Lotus Smart Suites, we have MS Excel, OpenOffice.org, Calci, Apple Numbers. For presentations, we have Presentation Graphics, MS PowerPoint, OpenOffice.org, Impress. Then for database management system, we have MS Access, OpenOffice.org, Base, MS SQL Server, Oracle. Then for graphic tools, we have Paint, Shop Pro, Adobe Photoshop, etc. So what all these packages are? These are the general packages which are being designed for general public. It is not designed keeping in mind about one particular user or demands from one particular user. These are the basic packages, they come under generalized packages. So, and if we talk about customized packages, these are the applications that are customized to meet the specific requirement of an organization or an institution. For example, a student information detail, payroll packages, inventory control, etc. So these comes under customized packages. These packages are developed using the high level computer language. So the major difference which comes out from the generalized package and the customized packages, the generalized packages are meant for a worldwide audience and they are general in behavior, and the customized packages are customized according to the specific requirement of an organization, such as student information details, the inventory control. Suppose we have two industries, we have two large industries, but both of them follow different inventory procedures. Like for some of them transportation can be the priority, for some of them complete package can be the priority, that they do not want different dropship vendors, etc. Like every industry can have different inventory rules. So for them they need to have a customized package. So that is the difference between a generalized package and a customized package, and the customized packages are also developed using very high level computer languages. So we'll talk about computer languages again after a short break.
प्रकाशित करने राहों को आलोकित करने,
जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने राहों को आलोकित करने, हम अपना दीपक स्वयं बने, हम अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने,
अपना दीपक स्वयं बने, हम अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने।
जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने राहों को आलोकित करने। कभी पढ़े हम कहीं पढ़े वे विषय की लोच से युक्त हो
कभी पढ़े हम कहीं पढ़े वे विषय की लोच से युक्त हो
मित्रों हम उठे और जागे
मंजिल आने की ध्वनि सुने हम अपना दीपक स्वयं बने हम अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने
जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने राहों को आलोकित करने
राष्ट्रीय मुक्त विद्यालय का है द्वार खुला सबकी बातें
शिक्षा परीक्षा का अवसर एक बार ही क्यों मिलता फिर
शिक्षा परीक्षा का अवसर एक बार ही क्यों मिलता फिर दुनिया में इसके केंद्र बात
कोई मन चाहा केंद्र चुने हम अपना दीपक स्वयं बने हम अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने कोई मन चाहा केंद्र चुने
I welcome you back. So before going for the break, we discussed about softwares. I'll once again brief about the system software. System software are a set of programs responsible for running the computer, controlling various operations of computer systems and management of computer resources. Operating system falls under this category. I told you about what is an operating system. It is a system software that provides an interface for a user to communicate with the computer, manages hardware devices, disk drives, keyboard, etc. Manages and maintain disk file systems and supports application programs. The most commonly used operating systems are Windows. Obviously, you must be working on them. Apart from Windows, they are Unix and Linux. Operating system provides all the features users need to use and maintain their systems, but still they do not meet everybody's expectations. So this has led to another type of system software called utilities. So utilities are the program that bridges the gap between the functionality of an OS and the needs of the users. Utility programs are a broad category of software such as compress, uncompress file software, antivirus software, split and join files software, etc. Then we had a discussion about the application software. Application software is a set of programs which are written to perform specific tasks. For example, an application package for managing library known as library information system is used to manage information of library such as keeping books details, account holder details, book issue details, book return details, etc. Application software can be broadly classified into two types. One is the generalized packages and one is the customized packages. The generalized packages are user-friendly software written to cater to users' very general needs such as preparing documents, drawing pictures, playing games, etc. So we also had a discussion about the various kind of generalized packages So for word processing software, for preparing documents, we have WordPerfect, we have MS Word, OpenOffice.org. For spreadsheets, for that is data analysis, we have Lotus Smart Suites, we have MS Excel, OpenOffice.org, Calci, Apple Numbers. For presentations, we again have Presentation Graphics, MS PowerPoint, OpenOffice.org Impress. For database management system, we have MS Access, OpenOffice.org Base, MS SQL Server, Oracle. Graphic tools, we have Paint Shop Pro, Adobe Photoshop, etc. These are the most commonly generalized package we have available in the market. Then we had about discussion about customized package. So there are applications that are customized or developed to meet the specific requirement of an organization or an institute. For example, student information details, payroll packages, inventory control, etc. These packages are developed using high-level computer languages. So this was all about softwares we discussed before going for the break. Now we are going to talk about computer languages in detail. So languages are a means of communication. Normally people interact with each other through language, right? So if you are communicating with anybody, if you are even talking to your parents, you need a language to communicate. So suppose I'll give you an example. Suppose there are two people standing. One can talk only in Hindi and one can talk only in English. So these two people will not be able to communicate to each other because the one speaking Hindi won't be able to understand English and the one speaking English won't be able to understand Hindi. So communication needs to be both way. So communication with computers is carried out through a language. This language is understood both by the user and the machine. It's not one way, it's both way. So it should be understood both by the users and the machine. Computer languages are broadly classified as low-level language and high-level language. Now, what is a low-level language? The term low-level means closeness to the way in which machines understand. The low-level languages are machine language. So machine language is in the form of zeros and ones. It is the zeros and ones are the binary numbers. So the machine language is the language which is made up of binary numbers understood directly by the computer. The machine language is the closest to the computer because the computer directly deals with binary numbers, zeros and ones. And the binary language is the binary language, it is machine dependent. Next is the assembly language. This is the language where the machine codes comprising of zeros and ones are substituted by symbolic codes which are known as mnemonics to improve the understanding. So it was the first step to improve the programming structure. Next is the high-level language. Low-level languages requires extensive knowledge of the hardware since it is machine dependent. To overcome the limitation, high-level language has been evolved which uses normal English-like easy to understand statements to solve any problem. High-level languages are computer independent and programming becomes quite easy and simple. So if you talk about the machine language, writing the whole instruction in form of zeros and ones is a tedious job. So to overcome that, the languages world is improving and then we are switching to the high-level languages. So they are basically machine independent and it is making the programming task easy day by day. So various high-level languages are basic, beginners all-purpose symbolic instruction code, COBOL, common business-oriented language, a standardized language used for commercial applications. Then we have Fortran, formula translation, developed for solving mathematical and scientific problems. One of the most popular languages amongst scientific community. C is again a structured programming language used for all purpose such as scientific application, commercial application, developing games, etc. C++ is a popular object-oriented programming language used for general purpose. So these were the most common high-level languages which are in use today. Now we are going to talk about compiler and assembler. See, now we have a source program and then an object program. So the source program is the program which is written in a high level language. So we need a compiler to translate the high level language into a machine language. The high level language code is known as the source program, and the program which is translated by the compiler to the machine language is an object program. So the software, the set of programs that reads a program written in a high level language and translate it into an equivalent program in machine language is called as a compiler. The program written by the programmer in high level language is called the source program, and the program generated by the compiler after translation is called as an object program. As you can see in the diagram, source program is given to the compiler, and in the result it gives us the object program. And if we talk about an assembler takes a source program in the assembly language and gives the object program in the machine language. The software that reads a program written in assembly language and translates into an equivalent machine language is called as an assembler. Again, we have the diagram for an assembler. It takes a source program which is written in the assembly language and it gives us the object program which is in the machine language. So after the break, we have discussed about the software, the system software, the application software, then the generalized software and the customized packages. Then we talked about the computer language, high level and low level, and then the compiler and assembler. I hope we had a good discussion. Thank you so much, dear learners.
प्रकाशित करने राहों को आलोकित करने,
जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने राहों को आलोकित करने, हम अपना दीपक स्वयं बने, हम अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने,
हम अपना दीपक स्वयं बने, हम अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने।
जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने राहों